price levels that have established themselves over long periods, but which have unpredictable rhythm or structure related to them. This 600 level is one such price. Fading it sort of is a decent idea, but it's based off just one aspect, a good price. I haven't got rhythm or structure. We could very well turn down here for a big move. So we'll see. Again, I'm not trading tonight, I'm just watching. Seeing weakness on the upside for Nasdaq here as it's trying to test the 600. This is just an observation. I'm not sure if I could justify this being one of my trades. Of course it's tempting, and probably this time last week I might have been tempted to just jump in. Justifying that if I look on the 3-minute chart, I've got some structure here. And for the last 3 days it's been a rotation level and going back further. How might I be able to trade this area? So it's obviously a key area. We could see some rotation here, and if it were to develop some rhythm and structure and a clean price at the top, that might lend itself for an entry. Gold is completely dead in the water. Now if we look at crude oil, we had a bit of a spill out below the 72.82 area. 72.80, double spill out, come up, and now we're sitting back at the 80. These are just key price levels. Again, this doesn't lean into my trades. Okay, so we've seen rotation around the 600 on Nasdaq, crept up to as high as the 617, not quite hitting the 620. Previous spill out just tagged 23, around the 20 area. Low of the morning was around the 06. So yeah, this is an area where potential rhythm could develop, and if such a thing developed, then yeah, that might be an entry to highlight. Again, we've got the potential for a spill out up to the 23 here, and then a continuation long past that up to the 700. Open was at 650. Okay, looking at gold, it's a good example of a range where the structure is unclear and the rhythm is an attempt, but a failed attempt to gain traction. All it has really is vague price zones. We've got 46 here, a spill out to 47, and an ultimate spill out for 48, a spill out to the downside of 42, and a vague rotation area of 43.5, and a lot of action in the middle. We're seeing something similar on silver, which is often the case. We've seen a ceiling at the 528, the 530, a couple of times. But a lot of action in the middle. Just nothing very high conviction. A lot of drifting. Crude oil, we've seen a new low of day, breaking past its afternoon 266 level. We've just trickled down below it, and now we're testing it again. No range either here. And silver, and Nasdaq, we've seen continued rotation around the 610. No tests of the 600 yet. We are seeing maturity up here around the 620 area. Not much action anywhere really tonight. Also looking at the Russell. Nothing but a tunnel on silver here. No rhythm, just drifting. Similarly on Nasdaq, had the chance to fall into something here, but we've seen a peak to the spill out, tagging the previous peak from the afternoon, and just dribbling, maybe coming down, but really just dribbling through the 610. Just seen a tag of the 600. So yeah, could see a break past the 600 coming all the way down. Continued rotation around here. Hard to say. Come down to the 88. See how it goes. Still no markers really. It's just in a ranging mood, that's all. Alright, no markers appearing on any of the main instruments. If we look at silver, again we've poked up to the 530. A little bit of a spill out to the 545, but this is just a tunnel really, there's no rhythm here. Same goes for gold, and crude is working its way back to this little area here, but again there's no conviction anywhere. If we look at the Russell, we've tagged the 329 a few times and we're sitting back there now, but it's dribbling around here, come down, nearly tagged it but didn't quite, came down, shrunk away, floating in the middle a lot, tagged it a couple of times up here, and now sitting roughly in the middle again. So it's very crowded, no conviction. So yeah, unlikely to find anything of worth tonight. Alright, so we've seen a poke out from this little range. Not a very high conviction congestion zone. Doesn't look like a setup is going to arrive tonight. I think I might wrap it up there. There weren't really any opportunities. We were leaning towards consolidation on the spectrum, but nothing really lined up. So that's the way it is sometimes. A perfect evening to ease back into unemotional trades. Toying with the idea of adding the Russell, but don't really see how I can trade it. Okay, good evening. It is Friday. I feel pretty good energy-wise. This is just this will be my final observation session before entering back into active trading next week. Still trying to just create distance between the tilt that I went through earlier. So this session I'm just looking for observation and nothing more. Okay, it's hard to miss the structure and tempo on Nasdaq at the moment. Seen a weaker push up to the top, weaker push to the bottom, but generally seeing respect for the 909 and the 930 area. And that rings true from earlier on in the day as well. If we look, we're just tested it here. Looks like a bit of a rotation price. It's difficult to justify going long here because the rhythm is weakening. Potentially could have seen something here at 3 past 6. It would be difficult to justify going long here, I suppose. We've got a bit of an overlapping bracket down here. I think if we didn't have this previous spill out to the bottom sitting below, I would be happier with entering the long here. But we've got too much of a pull down here. Just too much of a potential for a breakout to the downside. Doesn't necessarily mean that will happen. Seeing the rhythm and the tempo breakdown, still good to watch though. Seen an attempt to gain some rhythm and structure on the bottom here at crude. It's just tested the low of day, tagged it twice at the 72, bounced off it a bit, didn't fall into a good rhythm. Now we're seeing a bit of a push up. Just quickly, I'm talking to ChatGPT at the moment, trying to set up a new trading conversation as I've reached the end of my last one. Still no setups really. We had an absolutely wild 10-15 minute period there for a while. And now it looks like things have settled in. Monster lance up candle here to the bottom of this range. No, not on crude oil. Didn't get a chance to really settle into any kind of rhythm. So obviously no trade. Same with all the instruments at the moment really, which is fine. At one point Nasdaq was looking close to something, but never really reached it. I've swapped out silver for the Russell. Don't know if it's wise or if it's a great idea, but I wanted to give it a go. I've never really Okay, the market seems to have settled down a little bit now. Nasdaq once again is looking like it's trying to form some structure and some rhythm. I'm going to stop using structure. So I'm going to stop using rhythm and tempo as separate terms. They're sort of interchangeable. I suppose sometimes I mean something slightly different when I'm talking about tempo and rhythm, but they're part of the same thing. So structure and rhythm, or structure and tempo. I guess the rhythm is the clarity of the ricochets, and the the tempo is the speed with which those ricochets are occurring. I want to make sure that the tempo is consistent, I suppose, which is to say spontaneous alterations in tempo within the same ricochet might be cause for wariness, because it indicates a sudden increase in volatility, which is just another way of saying a change in price action. I suppose the key for ideal fades of ranges is for price action to be behaving in a groove, I suppose. To be behaving similarly from one candle to the next. Changes in price action behavior, large lancing candles from one side to the other when other such candles aren't present. Just generally an indication of changes in the price action spectrum. There is a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of weakness in the structure. Didn't quite reach as high up on this upside here as I'd like. It would be a B grade long, I think, perhaps. Maybe not. I'm talking on NASDAQ, of course. However, maybe one thing to recognize is that we've had such a huge down push just now. There might be carryover. We've come down to the 750 roughly, the top of yesterday's price action, the high of the week so far. I guess what I need to be doing is we've had a bit of a breakdown in structure here, and the rhythm obviously as well. I'm just seeing a messy range developing here with a lot of downward attempts. 730 has been a bit of a resistance level, or a support level rather, I guess. You'd be betting against a breakout here, I suppose. Same on the Russell. We've got 96. But we've got a lot of downwards momentum after that sell-off. Wouldn't be surprised to see a re-entry from the rest of the week's price action. Maybe perhaps down to the 700. Yeah, here we come. Not really any opportunities arriving here. Still only 7 o'clock. I might take a step back for a second. Crude oil has re-entered its previous range, or just tagging the top of its afternoon range here at 95. Sitting at yesterday's close. Silver has a tendency to create these horrible tunnels that look just disgusting and untradeable. Don't think this would be a wise entry here on gold, but it is the closest thing to structure and tempo I've seen. Well, potentially tonight, I don't know. We've seen this, what is this, 31.8 here, smacked it a couple times, we're sitting at it now. The closest price level after this on the downside is yesterday's open, which is we've got sort of the 830 level, so we're nearly there. 828, so down here. This is ideal in terms of position. I love having one of these brackets extended out of the rest of the day's price action, or clear, or out just far enough away without having extra junk too close, like sort of been ranging here sort of thing, and then it's just there. I know we've had this and a couple of tag outs here. That's a while ago. We're seeing it. So we've seen this level respected here at 35. I've got one of my markers, which is a nice clear price area. We haven't got it to the tick, but that's rarely the case. We've got 31.5, which is nice. So 31.8 would be an acceptable price, for instance. 31.5 would be a grand price. We're seeing a bit of maturity here too, so could argue that the rhythm is slightly there. The structure is weak. We've seen a tag up to this price, which was respected earlier, but yeah, quite a rally off here. It would be a dicey setup. Wouldn't be the most reckless trade ever, but if I'm having to try and squint, I suppose, to justify it, then let's look at the others. That's too random, isn't it? Russell and Nasdaq is, yeah, tempting, but didn't quite manage to build anything here. And now it's sitting at the 700. Crude oil has come back to the open. And that's what's happening. So gold looks the most interesting. I'll keep an eye on it, but nothing's really coming. Okay, we've seen a bit of maturity down here at the 31.5 and tags the 31.8 a couple of times. A little bit of a kick up. I suppose best case scenario, or you could have snatched 10 ticks here. Again, yeah, not the most ideal. Could develop into something. Wonderful. So we saw a return back up to the 38 and a bit of a push back down. Be interesting to see if we revisit the 31.5 or maybe 32. That would have been a lovely little area there. Sharp turnaround, unlikely to get an entry. But this is closer to a tunnel than a range on gold, but with enough variance that could potentially lend itself for an entry. If you were sharp enough. What else have we got? Nasdaq's attempting to develop into something as well. Not enough yet. Russell has been a weird one. Russell seems like a strange beast. Interesting though. Yeah. So it's no goes there. So carry on. Gold just tagged the 32, came down to the 31, start seeing 31.5s and a bit of maturity down here. Perhaps even a small spill out. Who knows? So 32. If we had 10 ticks down here, so we would have seen the 31. Right, on Nasdaq, what am I seeing here? Rotation price at 740. Revisit to the bottom here of the 680 area. Attempting to push out of the range, continue the down move. Less conviction on its push-ups here. Trying to tag at 740. Attempting to tag yesterday's close, perhaps, which was the 630, 640. Could potentially see a return to its little temporary bracket here. Gold couldn't manage to push lower than the 32. Keeping an eye on gold here as it comes below the 32. It's had weaker pushes to the upside, although we're tagged at the top of the range here. Little bounce, and now we're hovering down here, so. Alright, there's the 31.7. Can we see 0.5? There's 0.5. Now, would you just be entering reflexively because you saw 0.5? The structure is fairly consistent, perhaps? I don't know. Maybe I've been looking at it for too long. We've seen a little bit of tempo in here, a little bit of rhythm. Price clarity on the top side, price clarity on the bottom side. Spill out, obviously, bigger reaction from the lower. Here, stronger push to the bottom side now. Potentially making a new low now. There we go, breaking out. Will it return? If you had entered the 5, at the 0.5, you'd be sitting very close to the stop loss now. There's your stop loss. At the 30.5. Yeah, you'd be feeling it right now if you were in. Yeah, it looks like it would come against you here. And we've seen a breakout now, I guess. Breakout here. Okay, we saw a tag of yesterday's open at 28. Yesterday's low at 25. And now we're going to come and test the 31 again. 31.5 area. See how it goes. Gold's back down at the yesterday's open, tagged it and has come back up again. There isn't really a setup here, but it's worth noting. It's no wonder I started to try and stretch my factors. What I'm looking for is so vanishingly rare. It makes you think, are you even doing anything at all? Russell seems to have a habit of creating these bizarre ranges, which is clearly ranging, but with zero regard for structure. It's got a rotation price at the 300 here. Really rough structure here on Russell. We've got the 290 as the bottom, and a rough rotation price here at the 300 with numerous spillouts on the upside and the downside. I wouldn't feel comfortable going long here, especially with the downward pressure that the indices have been showing tonight. Look like the optimal type of evening for a trade entry. I only have about 25 minutes left until I'll be wrapping things up anyway. Potentially hope maybe seeing some maturity down here could alter my conviction, but we've seen breakout after breakout to the downside on the indices tonight. So that would make sense to expect a higher probability of that. So we've seen gold tag the low of day from yesterday. Looks like we're going to see a good chance of a spill out to the downside on Russell here. It's just one of those evenings where nothing's really going to occur. Watching the short term, watching this area on crude oil here, tagging the low of 33 up to the 45. Doesn't look likely. I think I'll wrap it up for tonight. Seems unlikely anything good is going to arrive. Certainly none of my setups. The conditions just aren't right tonight. Okay, good evening. It is Monday and I feel mostly rested. Let's see what we can see and find what we can find. Okay, immediately I'm seeing Nasdaq turning down from the 425 area. I can't justify entering so quickly after sitting down, but I'm also seeing gold tagging the 855 area, 856 a few times with varied amounts of energy bouncing off of it. The Russell is in a volatile little. Crude oil is also in a range with weak structure and weak tempo. I'm just eyeing up Nasdaq. This looks quite nice in the short term, but we've also got overlapping price envelopes here, and where it's hovering at the moment is a bit of a rotation price, which is doesn't mean I shouldn't trade it. It just means something that I need to be wary of. Silver looks random and staggered as always. I would like a long here for this gold move if it wasn't for these spillouts to the downside quite recently. It's just not the perfect setup, although nothing ever is. Again, I've had multiple chances to snatch this price here at the 420 on Nasdaq. Feels always a bit reckless to be entering just as soon as I sit down. I don't want to rush things with this. It's going to take a long time. I'm miles away from making a breakthrough or becoming profitable. So there's no rush. I just want clean trades and consecutive clean days. I want to be able to watch my trading compilation videos without wincing at my decisions. Nasdaq, actually, the 350 is probably a nicer looking price. That kind of area, 340, 350, looking for a turnaround. Crazy volatility on Russell. Hasn't really shown me anything interesting, Russell, even though it's supposed to be a bit more, I don't know, wild. Some people think it's range bound a lot more. Its ranges are really messy, as far as I can tell anyway. Okay, we're seeing price mature around the 420 area, 415 area on Nasdaq. I don't know what that tells me. It's a rotation price, and we haven't seen a revisit of the 350 area, although we haven't seen a break up to the upside either. I guess all it is telling me is that I shouldn't be entering here. It may be the right price, but it's the wrong. It's a nice price, but it's not my trade. I'm keeping an eye on Nasdaq as normal. The mid-50s, mid-450s or the 60s would be a decent area to be entering in for a short, depending on how it behaves when it gets there. Obviously, it hasn't tagged the close from Friday, so we could see a push up. But it has been moving very sideways all day, and it has tagged the 460 a few times, including at 5 o'clock, slight push further down and then climbing back, so be worth watching. It was nice to see this happen on gold. Perhaps I should have been braver, but this downside spill gave me pause, although I suppose maybe in hindsight, with hindsight bias obviously, it had been a consistent respect of that price area since here without interruption, so I don't know. I mean, it was a bit of a spill out. We came down to a new low of 55 since 5 o'clock. So 7 ticks lower than the previous. Well, 2 ticks lower from here, 7 ticks lower from the beginning. A weaker push up from that new low. So we might see something happen here. But still, that was nice to watch. It always seems to be gold and Nasdaq that I'm watching, I mean. Alright, we saw Nasdaq hovering just below the 50, never quite reaching it, tunneled for a bit, and a quick retest of the rotation price at around the 400 or the 420. Something's nearly there on crude oil, but the structure isn't very clean for me. Okay, little push up here on Nasdaq. This isn't an entry for me on Nasdaq. Even looking on the bigger picture at the 3 minute, the rhythm's sort of all off and it's tunneled its way up to the 50 here. So the high of day is at the 67. Recent highs of 64 and 57. Hovering at the 460. What have I got here? I've got fairly clean price, although the size of the range obviously means that variation is larger, ATR is larger, not much else. Rhythm and tempo are all over the place, and we're seeing a bit of maturity up here at the top. There we go, 67, matching the high of day. It's not surprising to see maturity up here at the 60. This is obviously a resistance level, and we've seen indecision and general tunneling all the way up to the top. I sense the potential for a breakout here. We've just made new highs for the day. This would obviously be the optimum time to enter if I had more conviction of a return to the range. Let's look at gold down here, an equally clear price level, arguably. Nasdaq is still tunneling around the mid-60s. Just playing for a return back to the day's range, but I definitely could have waited for a much better price. Going long on gold down here was probably a nice idea too. Okay, sitting back at my entry now, regretting not punching out when I had the chance. Not that this is regret, but I think that the gold price was much closer to the trade I'm trying to look for. This one here, happening around the same time I was doing this. I guess this looked more appealing because the potential was larger. Obviously, a return to the range was, 50 points or so on NASDAQ. That would have been gigantic, and it was tempting. But I was breaking my bracket size, I guess, reaching too far. Of course, it's extra frustrating having the chance to punch out, bringing yourself back into the green and not taking it because of your arbitrary price target, take profit level. If I'd been less greedy, I could have gotten out there, but that's okay. The actual trade idea didn't work out, although shorting up here was a great idea. Or no, perhaps it wasn't. Hard to know. This was a better display of what I'm looking for. I'm going to call it there for tonight. I've hit my 2 trades, and I've had a bit of a thought about time spread of my setup, which is good. I guess in case I forget, I've decided that I probably haven't got a very good track record of finding my markers or factors, I suppose, when they're spread over a larger day. I haven't got a very good track record of feeling for those. This short here, although I could have, if I'd managed the trades better, actually smashed out a big win there relative to my normal trades. The play I'm really looking for is a return back to the day's range, which is like a 50-point move, much larger than my typical trade, which means my stop loss needs to be much larger, which also means that the risk is higher, obviously. But also, my trade history has shown that I haven't had a track record very good at getting these rhythms right. For example, the price I was looking to short would have been a good move earlier in the day when I was actually seeing this, when the factors, the structure of this price action, this price here of 450, maybe 455, was relevant still, was fresh. So between 340 and 5:30, that was a decent area, especially this little area here. Or perhaps the reverses of it is true as well. And perhaps here as well, it's recent. But when I look and I'm trying to get this factor to work over here, it's too spread out and I don't seem to be able to get that very well. Another example is this gold here that I missed, this entry here at 7 o'clock. I may not have taken it anyway, but it was a nicer display of what I'm looking for, and an uninterrupted segment of the day's price action in which my markers were presenting themselves. So without sounding too much like a pompous knob, I'm going to stop now. But that was good, a good realization. There's plenty of examples in this NASDAQ day where this little factor marker area that I was looking at had been interrupted and disrupted. Again, there was always going to be resistance around this low or mid 460 area, and that was where this opportunity to snatch some points came in, but the actual move to play out to come back down to the range, that's what I was actually planning on taking advantage of. This seems to be a better area for me. Okay, good evening. It's Tuesday. I feel pretty rested. Let's see how this goes. What do we got? So straight away I'm looking at gold. We've had a price ceiling in the morning, had a spill out to the downside, and then now we've climbed our way back to that price ceiling and poked just slightly above it. This would have been gorgeous to be part of, but oh well. I'm not interested in that price. What was that? 3 o'clock, 875. Where we are now, unless the structure can build itself back up again. I've learnt better than to enter on. Look at crude oil, just drifting. Russell is looking very flat today. Seen a couple of taps of the 292, sitting at 290 at the moment, but there's no markers there really. So I'll leave that. Yeah, silver is extremely flat as well, and NASDAQ was very flat during the afternoon, tunneling really, more rotating around the 650. Not much of an entry there either. So gold was the most interesting, so I'll just sit back and wait. There's news at 7. Gold is sitting at the 876, tagged the 8769. It's an interesting level here. Still only watching gold. It's come and tagged the 76 again after not such a strong push down. I haven't seen the ricochets I like really. This little zone is quite nice though, this time compressive area. We can hang here for a while, maybe something will come. Sitting back at the 76 again, nearly tagged the 77, didn't see a bounce down from the level that I was looking for. Just want to talk about gold for a second. We came and tagged, we were hovering in the mid 76s for a while, some maturity here. I can obviously lament not entering on this, but at the time this is what I was being presented with, so yeah, my markers weren't really there. I had price clarity, but anyway, so I've seen a breakdown and a quick tag up on a violent candle which lanced right to the 76, no chance of entering on that, and snapped right back. So yeah, it hasn't really settled, but we're also just tunneling through here. It seems like everyone's a little bit flat tonight, apart from crude oil, which had a monstrous rally in the morning. We've got news at 7, so perhaps everyone's a bit puckered up for that. Coming to lance up to the 76 again on gold. Is a tempting entry on gold, but at the same time, yeah, my markers haven't quite really sorted themselves out here. Yeah, perhaps in hindsight I should have been looking for an entry here in the mid 76s. Perhaps I could have been looking for an entry up here at the 76. But when I look at it, how the chart was displaying itself, yeah, that would have been a stretch for me. We've got news in 6 minutes time, and you can tell everyone's very scared or tentative, so obviously I won't be looking for an entry for the next half an hour or so. Be interesting to see how it reacts though. At this stage, I'm just taking a step back. Nothing's really lining up anywhere. The Russell is always a bit of an experiment, and either way, there's nothing here. The gold has dissolved a little bit lower now, and we're seeing overlapping brackets. So we're during the news event at the moment, and also everything's just looking very flat. I mean, so I'm just taking a step back and chilling. I'm watching gold at this level. There's no entry here. We've had a break of the structure, so this would have to build something here. And even then, I've got a rotation price of sort of 745. Just watching the 74 on gold. It's the rotation price between these two brackets, which is always something I need to be wary of. Had a slight spill out, nearly tagged the 76 again. I don't really see anything developing in the next 50 minutes or so. I suppose I was overcautious of a spill out or a breakout even, but still, if I look back, this is a stretch of my factors. So, and if I look at the whole day at that stage, yeah, I can justify it, but that's ballsy, and especially after my tilt recovery, I'm trying to take only the cream of the crop, so yeah, there's a lot of tunneling. Just still sitting back. Gold's coming down to test this little price here at the 72, 73. Something doesn't feel right, although it sort of lines up with what I'm looking for. We've been slowly working our way back into the range this evening. Huge volatility just came into the crude. Well, that would have been a stretch, but it could have worked. See how it behaves, whether it can work back up to the 74. The 74, maybe even 70, somewhere in the mid 74s. there's the news, I suppose. So the event itself happened at 7 o'clock, and I suppose we're just now seeing whatever is being said. I think I'll call it there for tonight. There was some good price action to watch, even if it was dull. Rewatching will be good. Pay attention, Tim. You're doing great.